Fast food workers. What is your, sir, this is a Wendy's moment. Work at Panera. Guest calls in from car. Several people in background, all giving orders for a pickup. First order is something simple. Next order is an item we don't carry. A salmon dish of some kind. I know there are some regional Paneras that have or have had salmon. We're not one of them. So I let them know, hey, I'm sorry, but we don't carry salmon. Maybe? And the other person on the other end of the phone cuts me off and starts getting really aggressive. Yes, you do! You do! They scream. But I don't. We don't. So then I'm like, hey, maybe you're thinking of another chain. We're very similar to... And I start to list off some other places, and they cut me off again, screaming, I know you have effing salmon! What the F? I ate it the other day! And at this point, I'm just being honest with them and say, hey man, you don't really need this attitude. We don't have salmon. I can't make the dish for you. You have us confused with someone else. There's a long silence, and finally someone, not the person who's been yelling, says, wait, this isn't... Insert some totally not Panera sounding place that I don't remember here? No. And then everyone in the car starts yelling at each other, and I hang up. Customer service is the worst. Story 2. First of all, F you, OP, for making me relive this. Now, working at McDonald's, every single day at the same time, 1600, this old guy would come in and order his food. Most people knew that he wanted a special order. Overcooked the crap out of the patty. Started up right when he walked in. Anyway, that's not the problem. That was easy. The problem is this dude was forgetful as all hell and would demand a ceramic plate to eat on every time. So that's when we would explain it to him. Dude, this is McDonald's. We don't have plates. And he'd usually be like, oh, right. But sometimes he would just rant about how we should have plates. I saw him absolutely flip the F out because a girl stepped outside the break room with a plate of food she brought from home. I knew you bastards had plates! And could not convince him otherwise ever thereafter. Keep it in the break room is the moral of the story. Story 3. It wasn't me involved, but I witnessed it. I worked at Burger King when I was a teenager. We're short-staffed one day, and the girl on the drive-thru was on break, so our manager stepped in to cover her. He was pretty old and didn't have the best hearing, so most customers were pulling around to the window to talk to him as he was struggling to hear through the headset. Anyway, this one guy rolls up to the window and shouts, I want a large Big Mac with a Coke, please! Is that so damn hard? My manager very calmly says, my apologies, sir, that won't be difficult. He leans out of the window and points down the road. There's a McDonald's about 3 miles in that location. They'll be able to help. Have a nice day, sir. Then he just closes the window and walks around the corner out of sight. I laugh so hard. I just love how managers at fast food places have no chill whatsoever. They speak whatever is on their mind, and they're just so bold and fearless, and they go right back at the customers. I don't know if that's just because they've been sort of baptized by fire, if you will, and they've been through it, but it just seems like anytime you hear or see a TikTok video or something like that of a manager at a McDonald's or a Burger King that gets involved with, a difficult customer, they're always just total boss level, pun intended. Story 4. As a former Del Taco employee, I can confidently say that regular Del Taco customers are all mean and or idiots. One lady in particular still makes my blood boil almost 10 years later. It was Taco Tuesday, 3 tacos for $1, and we had over 50 orders in our queue, plus a line of people putting in more orders. We were slammed and understaffed, and our wait time was extremely long, even though we were trying our best. So this lady was getting really pissed about waiting for her super important order of 6 crappy tacos, defrosted and assembled by a guy who went to my high school, but never actually showed up for class. Every time we would call out an order number, she would sarcastically and loudly cheer and clap and congratulate us for, quote, finally learning how to do our jobs. This went on for 10 or 15 minutes before I finally showed her our order board and said, here's the order we're currently making, order 15, and way over here is your order, order 45. Realizing how many orders were ahead of her family prompted her to leave, with no tacos, so that we could continue fulfilling orders under the silent, watchful gaze of our other 30 angry customers. I hated working there. Then, one day, I showed up for my regularly scheduled shift to find a notice on the door that said, sorry, this location is closed. So, anyway, I hate Del Taco. Story 5. I worked at Wendy's. Had one guy try to order McNuggets over the speaker. When I asked what size they wanted, they got all defensive that I wouldn't call them McNuggets. Fine. I'll take a Whopper. A Dave's Double or Baconator? Needless to say, they screamed at me and zoomed off into the smog set. Worst year of my life. Story 6. This happened at an actual Wendy's. It's a bit long, but trust me, it's worth it to read. I once had a woman come through the drive-thru and try to order macaroni and cheese. I politely informed her we did not have that. She insisted we did. I told her we definitely didn't. She got angry and yelled that yes, we did. I told her, "Ma'am, I've been working here 3 years. We've never had macaroni and cheese. It's not something we serve. Would you like to order something else?" She says, "Yes, you effing do. I can see it on the menu board. It's right there in front of me on the menu." I tell her I'm really not sure what she's looking at, but we don't have mac and cheese, and if it really does say mac and cheese on our menu board, then that means someone vandalized it. She says, "No, it's definitely part of the menu board, and it's real, and we do have it, and she isn't leaving until she gets her mac and cheese." Cue quite literally 10 minutes of this back and forth, all while she's holding up the drive-thru line. I finally got the manager to come over and deal with it after asking him for the 15th time because they don't pay me nearly enough to deal with that for that long. The woman absolutely refuses to accept that we don't have mac and cheese. She also refuses to order anything else, and won't move her car until we give her the mac and cheese that we don't have. We have a line of cars wrapped around the building now, and everyone is pissed. It's been half an hour and the line has not moved. The manager tells her if she doesn't leave, he's gonna have to call the cops. She screams she can't understand why we're doing all this, and why we won't just serve her mac and cheese when she can clearly see it on our menu board right in front of her, so we do have it, and why are we lying to her? My curiosity and exasperation finally got the better of me, so against my better judgment, I exit the building, walk along the outside to the drive-thru order screen where this woman's car is. I tell her to please show me on the menu where it says the words macaroni and cheese anywhere. She points and confidently says, "Right there," with all the conviction of someone who's absolutely sure they just proved some big dumb idiot wrong and that they will be hailed as a hero. I look where she's pointing. I see it. I sigh heavily as a bit more of my soul dies. I compose myself and say, as politely as I can, "Ma'am, we do not serve mac and cheese. Please drive away before the police get here." She looks confused, looks at the menu board again. The realization dawns on her, and she drives off without a word. I go back inside and scream in the walk-in freezer for 10 minutes. Also, to all the people saying some variation of staff is also to blame for taking so long to walk out to the car, I say this: employees don't get paid nearly enough to deal with that crap in general. You really think they want to go outside in the summer heat, walk up to someone's car, and deal with that crap up close and personal? Story 7. About 11 years ago, I had just went into management at McDonald's, and they sent me to practice running our location inside a Walmart. 2 older ladies, probably in their 70s to 80s, came in, and while one came up to my register, the other sat down about 15 feet away in a booth. They both look and sound frail. The exchange went like this. Me: "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Lady 1, standing: "Yes, I'll have that lunch meat combo." Me: "I'm sorry, what?" Lady 1: "The lunch meat combo." Me: "I'm sorry, we don't have that here." Lady: "Oh, well, what do you have?" Me: "Well, we have burgers, fish, chicken." Lady 1: "Wait, what is this place?" Me: "McDonald's." Lady 1 turns and looks at her friend and literally yells, "They don't have the lunch meat combo here." Lady 2, sitting 15 feet away: "What?" Lady 1: "They don't have the lunch meat combo." "What do they have?" "It's McDonald's." "What?" "McDonald's." "Where are we?" Lady 1 looks at me. "Give us just a couple minutes." Me: "No problem. Take your time." At that point, I had to step away because the interaction reminded me so much of the SpongeBob episode with the 2 older ladies in the chocolate bars that I was about to die laughing, so I had someone else take over the register and told them to promo their meals because they made my day. Story 8. Worked at McDonald's. We would always get people that would ask for a Whopper burger, either seriously or trying to be funny. Cue the exhausted, "We don't sell Whoppers, sir/ma'am. We have the Big Mac." In response, usually we get an, "Oh, right, okay, one of those." Until one day, we had a guy come through the drive-thru that asked for a large Whopper meal. An instant reply back, "Sir, we don't sell Whoppers here. We have Big Macs or Quarter Pounders or McChickens." He replied, "No, I don't want that. I want a Whopper." Me, sir, we don't sell those. This is a McDonald's. The closest equivalent would be a Big Mac, but it's not a Whopper. If you want an actual Whopper, you need to go to Hungry Jack's, Burger King. Reply, a effing Whopper meal. Me, okay, sir, I can't give you a Whopper meal here, but I can order a Big Mac meal for you. The Big Mac is the closest equivalent we have, but it's not a Whopper. Are you happy with a large Big Mac meal instead? Him, yes. Was that so hard? We give him a large Big Mac meal, and sure enough, 10 minutes later, he's back through the drive-thru screaming into the speaker that he hasn't gotten his Whopper burger. Edit. To address the Big Mac isn't the equivalent comments, at the time I was just thinking he was ordering the standard signature burger from the menu, of which the Whopper is the signature burger of Hungry Jack's, and the Big Mac is the signature burger of McDonald's. It didn't cross my mind to think Quarter Pounders is closer to the actual Whopper burger because, well, to a teenager making minimum wage, I'm not going through the list of options that could be the possible equivalent. All I could do is explain we don't have Whoppers at McDonald's. Here's what we sell. You don't want to listen? Fine. Are you happy with X alternative instead? You said yes. Great. Take your burger and piss off. Some people have pointed out the McFeast and Quarter Pounder Deluxes is nearly the same burger to the Whopper. When I worked at McDonald's, which was 8 years ago, QPD weren't a thing. Never heard of it to this day, actually. I don't eat at Macca's much. And the McFeast at the time was a limited edition menu item. It came and went seasonally. I believe now it's a standard menu item, but at the time it wasn't always available, and certainly not when this incident occurred. And yes, I'm from Australia. Burger King is known as Hungry Jack's here, because when BK first arrived to Australia, there is already a small chain of locally owned burger restaurants in Sydney called Burger King. Story 9. 2 things from my experience working at the God's Chicken restaurant. 1. The number of people that asked for McNuggets was astronomical. 2. We had a breakfast menu. Said breakfast menu is only available from 6 to 10 a.m. It's now after our lunch rush and I'm still managing the drive-thru. Man comes in the drive-thru and asks for a number 2. It's slow, so he definitely gets what he ordered. 2 minutes later, he comes back through and says he ordered a number 2, but did not get the correct sandwich. I instruct him to pull around and we would give him another sandwich, the correct one, free of charge. I get the sandwich, check that it's the right one before handing it out, and hand it out. End of story, right? Wrong. 2 minutes later, he comes inside and is irate because he's come through the drive-thru twice now, and both times he received the wrong sandwich. I told him that I personally checked it and he received the correct sandwich and even pointed at the number 2 on the menu board. Angrily, as though I had done something wrong, he points at the breakfast menu and says, "No, I want that number 2. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. So, 2 things. 1. God's Chicken Restaurant is definitely Chick-fil-A. Its meaning is twofold. They're obviously a Christian organization and their food is godly. 2. Unless you're going to a place that serves breakfast all day, most fast food places reuse their numbers for lunch and breakfast menus. But also, most places that have lunch and breakfast menus can also turn their menu boards around so you don't see the breakfast options in the afternoon. My Chick-fil-A didn't. I think they changed that now, but our menu boards were static when I worked there. Also, I agree with all the people that say they don't even call them McNuggets when they go to Mickey D's. I feel like a 5-year-old when I say that. Story 10. I'm late, but I used to work at Taco Bell as a drive-thru guy. I just took people's orders, took their money, and gave them their crap, basically. So there's the usual script you follow when a customer pulls up. Hi, welcome to Taco Bell. How are you? And 90% of them say, good, could I get a... and carry on with their order. The kind 10% of people say, good, how are you? And you would usually say something like, pretty good, thanks for asking. What can I get for you today? Well, one time I got an outlier. I asked, hi, how are you? And defying all convention, this man on the other end, in a country accent, responded sadly with, we're not doing too well. It wasn't in a dignified way either. Dude sounded legit upset about something. I was just bewildered. I had no idea what to say. I think after like 5 seconds of silence, I was like, well, sorry to hear that. What can I get for you tonight? The speaking part of that job is so routine that you become a customer service robot. Then this sad guy comes through and is actually honest about his current mood, and it just threw me off entirely. So this is a psychological question that I myself have often wondered about. It's like instinctively when you see someone that you haven't seen, or for the first time that particular day, you ask them, hey, how are you? And when you ask that, are you really braced for what the answer might be if it's not, oh, I'm doing well, how are you, right? Do you really care that much about how they're doing to the point where if you ask someone that's depressed or is having a horrible day, hey, how are you? Well, I'm really struggling right now. Like life just sucks. What do, right? It throws you off because you do become like this bot in the sense of communicating with other people. And then, of course, you have people that say that they're fine, even though they're really not. And you can read through their posture and their body language that something else is up. It's just an interesting thing. Like, what if everybody answered that question, how are you doing today? If they answered it truly, honestly, and, fully what they're feeling in that moment, you would have much more deeper conversation with people, I think. Story 11. My family runs a concessions trailer at fairs. Lots of great stories, but this one always sticks out. We have a giant 16-bay steam table directly in front of the serving counter. It's old and some pans don't sit quite right, so there's always a bit of steam leaking out. Our trailer is built around one of them. Empanadas, not really, but similar. The trailer is even called that. All the signs advertise empanadas in big letters. So one day it's like 90 degrees out and sweat is just running off of all of us. We're packed. The line is running down the street and we're 8 servers deep at the window. Customer comes up to the window after standing in line for probably 15 minutes, sees us with soaked shirts and headbands, steam pouring out of the table, and they ask, what flavors of ice cream do you have? Story 12. Wasn't it fast food, but while I was a cashier at Walmart, I was finishing the checkout of one woman's order when another, older one came up behind her on a motorized cart. The first woman said some simple, pleasant greeting like, "Hi, how are you?" to the second one, which somehow developed. Within the space of about 2 to 3 minutes, into the second woman's reply in the form of a monologue about how she was sorely abused by her mother as a child, but her mother was now dead, and she still missed her, even though she also severely neglected her, which led to the plethora of health problems she suffered, starting in her teens with abnormal puberty and only getting worse from there, and her abusive relationships with men. The first woman looked at me like, holy hell, and finished paying and picking up her order and abandoned me to listen to the rest of the second woman's woes. She also had children who were all ungrateful and just never wanted to have anything to do with her, even in the throes of her worst illnesses and health issues, and some of them have completely cut her off. It's all her former husband's fault, and her dead mother's, because she, this rambling woman, not her dead mother, is too nice of a person. She's too loving, she's too giving, she gives her children too much, and gave them too much. She sat on her motorized cart just continuing her speech about her life of torment, and all her stuff was bagged. I'm just standing there waiting for her to pay. She won't shut up. She can't take a damn clue. The line is backing up behind her. She still won't shut up. She's talking about how her husband's made her work when she shouldn't have, and her kids abuse her. Her son threw her out of his house for no reason when she was just trying to help him. I'm not even saying anything to her. Like, WTF am I supposed to say? I diagnose you with a latent case of narcissistic personality disorder, intelligence lacking type, perhaps histrionic personality disorder, except I can't because I'm an effing Walmart cashier and not a psychiatrist. But I was a pretty scared young kid at that time and felt too awkward and on the spot to say anything. Not even a peep of, "Ma'am, could you please pay?" It only ended when the guy behind her loudly said something like, "What's the holdup? This isn't the place, lady." That she finally switched to grumbling about how rude he was while she begrudgingly got her wallet out and then somehow left and it was over. All because the first woman tried to be nice. Now, I promise guys, I did not look ahead in the script when I weighed in on my last commentary about honestly answering the question, "Hey, how are you doing?" But the way that this lady supposedly answered the question, that's pretty much exactly what I had in mind. Conversations would never end if you answered that question with anything other than, "I'm great, how are you?" So I guess that's why people do that. Moving on. Story 13. Don't work in fast food. This was an incident I was witness to. I go to KFC for dinner one night. The customer in front of me is ranting and raving at the clerk. I overhear a bit of the conversation, and the man is ranting at the clerk about an old NES game, Castlevania 2. Customer: "It was such a scam. The whole game was designed that you couldn't play it without buying the Nintendo Power Strategy Guide." Gen Z clerk: "What's Nintendo Power?" I could see the pained look on the clerk's face as she immediately regretted asking that. The man then launches into the history of Nintendo Power. Luckily, the clerk sees me and forms her exit strategy. Sir, you need to wrap this up. We've got a line forming. Dude sees me and has the decency to end his lecture and go wait for his chicken in silence. So, just a quick sidebar, Castlevania 2 on the NES was absolutely impossible to finish without either Nintendo Power or maybe if you were lucky, you had a friend at school that told you how to get past. There's a very specific point in the game where you have to kneel down facing a certain direction and hold that kneel for like 10 seconds, and then a tornado comes and whips you up to the next part of the level. Literally impossible to figure out without somebody telling you that you needed to do that. So that, for the younger audience, that's what's being referenced there. Story 14. Worked at a Japanese restaurant when I was in college, and I remember one phone conversation I had with someone trying to put in an order. Me. Hello, this is, name of restaurant, is this pickup or delivery? Customer. Pickup. Me. Okay, great. What can I get you? Customer. Yeah, can I get an order of orange chicken? Me. I'm sorry, but we don't serve that here. We do have great chicken hibachi I highly recommend. Customer. Nah, how about some kung pao chicken? Me. I'm sorry, but we don't have that either. Customer. What kind of Japanese restaurant are you if you don't have those? I wanted so bad to say, well, we're the kind that serves Japanese food and not Chinese dishes. But I knew my boss would have been so pissed if she found out, so I just told him the only chicken dish we had was the hibachi. They were still mad and said they would find a better place to order from. Story 15. One time, this older dude rushes up to order and slams a coupon on the counter saying, I want this. I pick it up. It has menu items for KFC. I ask him, what exactly would you like to order? He instantly gets disgruntled with me for not reading his goddamn mind and shakes his finger at the coupon and said, well, whatever's on the coupon, obviously, in a condescending tone. I just look at him for a minute and say, word for word, sir, this is McDonald's. I don't know what you want me to do with this KFC coupon. He looks at me dumbfounded, then looks behind me at the menu and around the store, yells, oh crap! Like this isn't his first time walking into the wrong establishment, grabs the coupon and storms off. Story 16. Not a fast food worker. I work at a dentist's office and sometimes answer the phones. People love to just dump on me for some reason. Guess they need someone to talk to, so they call the dentist? A few gems. 1. I had a lady spend 15 minutes telling me she was going to quit her job because it was interfering with her ability to be a single parent, and she gets better tips waitressing anyway. I did not ask anything pertaining to her job. 2. Had a lady call and tell me about her psychotic delusions that the police were after her and that she was hearing voices in her head. Once again, this had nothing to do with her dental treatment. 3. Had 2 patients who were engaged. Their wedding date was posted in the patient's chart. Always come in together. The woman will rub the guy's feet while he's getting work done. I called their number for the woman to confirm an appointment one day, and the man answered. He said they had a falling out and his former fiancée was living at her mom's now. A month or so later, he called to tell us they were back together and the wedding was still on. This call had nothing to do with teeth or his treatment whatsoever. Just wanted us to know. There are so many more. My patients are wild. Story 17. 3 from my brief time working at McDonald's. 1. Man explains the plot of Star Wars on the phone, then starts talking about how his sex life wasn't negatively impacted by being Asian and how he owned, quote, multiple beautiful electronics. He accidentally put the phone on speaker and it was hold music. Then he asked for free coffee, didn't get any, and left. 2. Middle-aged woman asked to see my manager, saying that I took her order wrong because her burger didn't have jalapenos. I had tried to explain that she'd ordered the green chili burger, local promotion, and that we didn't have a jalapeno burger. She screamed. My manager tried to explain that green chilies and jalapenos were different, and she threw the mostly eaten burger in his face and started yelling at people. So the manager calls the cops while she's still yelling about how we're all going to be arrested for fraud. Cops arrive and tell her to leave. She starts yelling about how, quote, those goddamn dirty effing spics stole my money. Put them in jail. Not that it matters, but neither myself nor my manager were Hispanic, just dark hair and tan. In my case, mixed race. She straight up told the cop that, as an affluent white woman, she expected him to arrest us for our, quote, insubordination. I mean, the cops in the area were pretty racist, and he handled her with kid gloves / apologized to her. She spit on him anyway and got cuffed. 3. 4 people got out from a desert furry con and showed up to get quarter pounders at midnight. They were really nice, but it was interesting to have 4 people in fursuits chatting at the table. At least they took their masks off. 2 of them were talking about how the Cuban Revolution needed to be judged by the historical conditions of its time and how this applied to Palestinian liberation. The other 2 made oh-oh noises at each other. Story 18. I was working in the back when a new trainee came rushing over, absolutely bawling. So I immediately knew something was seriously wrong. Jay had her stay in the back to calm down and alerted the head manager from the office so we could go tackle the situation. I get to the register and find a rather petite Korean lady shouting very loudly and demanding the trainee come back and saying she was stealing and trying to cheat her out of her money. She also kept shouting what I can only assume were strong obscenities in Korean. The manager looked at her with an expression that basically said, "Oh no, she's too much for me to deal with." So he said he'd handle the line of people that was formed, and I got the pleasure of dealing with the Korean Karen. Somehow I managed to keep a level head and asked her calmly to explain her situation. She was screaming and yelling and rambling about how upset she was and claimed the cashier refused to give her any change and that the bagels she wanted were too expensive. I handled giving her the change and reruns her bagels up so they come out to a better deal. The trainee had keyed them in as individuals instead of as a pack, which changes the price. It was literally her first day by herself. The whole time I'm packing up her 12.5 bagels, she's still being pissy and is waving her arms around in a fit and bumps a customer next to her. He very politely and sternly says, "Excuse me," and she decided to take this opportunity to spit on him. While all this has been going on, the assistant manager had called the cops as he'd been witness to her fit from the beginning, and a cop came in right after. As I'm finishing slicing up all her stuff, the cop is trying to ask her questions. Again, very calmly, what is the problem? What's her name? Then he asks to see her identification, and she goes ballistic. She shoves the cop, who's kept his hands to himself this whole time, and spits at the cop. He tries to take her wrist and orders her to put her hands behind her back, and out of nowhere, she lets out this howling scream and starts trying to fight with this guy and is shoving him around. His partner comes in and sees the commotion and immediately jumps in. They're shoving into the refrigerator items and tackle her to the ground. They take her out to their police car in cuffs and come back inside to pick up her personal items that were dropped in the fray and ask me if anything else was hers, and I gladly handed them her change and bagels. Edit. Oh my gosh, this blew up. Thank you all for the awards. Also, this customer being Korean had nothing to do with anything, really. People of all backgrounds would get bent out of shape over the dumbest things. I only added the detail to fully convey the surprising strength and fight coming from such a small-framed woman, and that her shouting was in a language I do not speak. It also was just too funny to not have the alliteration of Korean Karen. Story 19. I worked for Taco Bell, and a lady ordered 3 of those Taco 12 boxes, of course wanting sauce. So I gave her one of those small bags that had a generous fistful of each of the sauces, meaning 4 fistfuls of sauce. The bag was packed because I didn't want any sass from this woman. She came back maybe 10 minutes later and dumped the bag out in front of me and pointed to one of the sauce packets that were a little crusty because sometimes they pop. She gave me a lecture about how unsanitary we are, then asked why we don't take the time to wipe off each individual packet before distributing them. I motioned to the sauces in front of her saying, "We sell a lot of food. This is how many sauces we just gave you. Imagine how much we go through a day. There just wouldn't be time." She still huffed at me and asked me to clean the dirty packet. Since I was her sauce female dog and I needed to keep my job, I did. Story 20. Not sure if this exactly fits, but I worked for one fast food restaurant and we needed to have a store-wide meeting. I can't remember who manned the store during the meeting, but we couldn't do it at the restaurant because we take up too much space. So we always had them at parks or whatever. But it was winter, so we had to find a place indoors. I have no idea how the whole thing transpired, but we had a meeting at a fast food restaurant that had closed down many years ago and had been vacant that whole time. The whole time we were in there, people kept coming through the drive-thru trying to order. It just kept beeping, and we couldn't turn off the beeping, so we had to hop on the speaker and tell them to leave. Our cars were in the parking lot, but there was absolutely nothing else to indicate we were open or even what restaurant this was. It was an Arby's briefly, but it had also been 2 different other chains before that. So there's no sign, no marquee, no menu. Like, what did the people even think they were ordering? They never held the meetings there again. Story 21. Working at Home Depot, I got my face ripped off because this lady wanted to return a label maker, and nothing that we scanned came up in our system. She demanded a manager, supervisor, and that's when I stepped in. Me. What seems to be the problem? Lady. I'm trying to return this product, and you guys are telling me I can't. Me. Well, unfortunately, when we go to scan it in our system, nothing comes up. Are you certain you got it at Home Depot? Her. Absolutely. Me. Ma'am, I apologize, but if it doesn't come up in our system, there's no way for me to refund you. If you can provide a receipt, I'd be more than happy to help you. Her. Storms off angrily. Hours later, she comes back. Her. Hey, so I want to apologize. Me. Her. I found the receipt for the label maker. It was from Office Depot. We had a good laugh, and I told her I appreciated her coming back in. Well, I guess this disproves the cliche that the customer's always right, huh? No, seriously though, props to this woman for owning up to the mistake, coming back and apologizing. The world needs more people like you. Story 22. Not Wendy's, but at Taco Bell. Someone wanted a burrito with basically just beans and rice, but we don't have such an item. And it's hard to do custom items on drive-thru since there's no buttons for them. Basically, he'd have to pay for a more expensive burrito that has more ingredients, take off most ingredients and sub for rice. So the drive-thru girl tells him to come inside to our self-order kiosk instead, as it'd be easier for him to order that way, without overpaying. Guy says, easier for you. He ended up paying like $2.50 plus tax for a beans and rice burrito because his ass just wouldn't come inside to order. I actually downloaded the app so I can try to recreate the Mexamelt and double-decker taco because the bastards keep taking away the best items and replacing them with Doritos and creamy chipotle sauce. Edit. For anyone interested in using the app, fake Mexamelt. Customize the beef burrito. Rice, creamy jalapeno sauce, and nacho cheese. 3-cheese blend, pico de gallo. Microwave for a few seconds when you get home to melt the cheese. Maybe with a damp paper towel for steam, but not really necessary. Then for the fake double-decker taco, this one's more difficult because there's no way to communicate where you want the beans. So I've done it 2 different ways. 1. Order a taco or taco supreme, then customize the cheesy bean and rice burrito, removing the cheese and rice, then opening up and pressing it onto the taco. 2. Order nacho crunch double stack. Remove the nacho cheese and red pepper strips. Add pico and sour cream if you like supreme. You can add beans and they'll probably just put it inside the taco unless they've been working there a while and can tell what you're trying to do. Or you can specify on the side and they'll put the taco in the tortilla plain and you can just spread it on with the spork. You get a lot more beans if you order on the side, so if you're planning to eat 2 or 3, you really only need to add the beans to 1. Story 23. At a Wendy's, interestingly enough, guy comes in and orders some value sandwiches. Asks us not to, quote, press the juice out of them. I think he was thinking about how you always see in TV and stuff, how grill chefs push down on hamburger patties with the spatula to make them sizzle. I try to explain that Wendy's uses a double-sided closing grill and that we don't use spatulas while cooking, so what he wants is impossible. He comments about how weird that is, and this is where I start the fire. Yeah, it's weird, but it's pretty common. I'm pretty sure McDonald's does it that way too. Him. Oh, do not eat at McDonald's. The guy proceeds to go on a several minutes rant about how McDonald's puts soy in chicken nuggets because of the influence of some rich family he name-dropped, and how the global elites are looking to depopulate the earth by sterilizing us with the food. Him. All that soy, that's what's turning people gay, so they can't reproduce. I noticed an opportunity, so that's when, without missing a beat, I just said, oh, so I guess it's too late for me then. And I just watched the color drain from his face. That moment was the single best experience I've ever had working in fast food. I remember it so vividly. Story 24. I'm not a fast food worker, but there's a McDonald's on my walk home from school, and I like to sit in there for a while, maybe get a drink and just chill. Last school year, I was sitting in the corner of this weird long booth thing with a couple tables going down, just texting some friends, when this really drunk homeless guy sitting just on the other end of the booth started screaming and shouting. He was saying crap about gay people and Mexicans, then spotted me. I guess it's not hard to tell that I'm queer and obviously Hispanic, so he starts talking louder and eyeing me the whole time. It freaks me out, and I legit went and sat with some kids who I was pretty sure go to the school right across from the McDonald's. My school is a few good miles away from it. Thank God they completely understood and let me sit with them. And an employee who might have noticed asked if I was okay. So the guy keeps making a huge scene. Everyone is uncomfortable, but then the employees finally get him to leave around the time the cops finally arrive. Some little kid went, "Daddy, look, that guy's getting arrested," which was funny and kind of alleviated the stiffness in the air, but it's still kind of uncomfortable to think about, especially since I was so close to him and he kept looking at me the way he did. Story 25. Not fast food, but still. I worked at an O'Reilly Auto Parts, and we frequently had people that tried to return stuff they bought at AutoZone or Advance. This was usually an understandable mistake because it was almost always a mechanic that just forgot they bought something, or even just drove to the wrong store by mistake. But this one guy, he came in talking on the phone, never a good sign, and asked me to return something, handed me a receipt, then turned around to continue his conversation. I immediately realized that he had the wrong receipt and tried to get his attention, making me look like a dick for interrupting his conversation. Told him that he had the wrong receipt and got his phone number to look it up. While I was doing this, I overheard him say, "Yeah, I'm at AutoZone returning that part." So I looked through his profile and sure enough, he never bought the crap at O'Reilly's. I tried to interrupt him again and tell him that he was in the wrong store and he just waved me off. Obviously, he wanted to finish his conversation, so I let him. I help a few more customers, and after hearing him say, "I'm at AutoZone again," I'm assuming this was a different conversation, so I loudly said, "You're at O'Reilly's, dude. AutoZone is down the street." He completely ignored me. The dude spent a good 15 minutes on the phone before walking back over to the counter and said, "All right, did you return the thing yet?" Story 26. I was taking orders at McDonald's pretty late in the evening. It was quiet at that time, so I had no customers until one dude came into the store and approached me at the till. Him, "Do you mind if I give you some coins to get a note off of you? Our policy is not to exchange money, but I thought, F it, I'll do him a solid. He probably only wants like 10 euros anyway." Me, "Okay." He then opens up his bag, which had a massive bag of coins stored in bank counting bags. He stacks up 10 euros and 2 euro coins. Then another stack he got about 5 stacks in when I had to stop him and say I couldn't do that big of an exchange. Well, he was not happy. He calmly starts taking the coins back one at a time and hits me with this. "You've wasted my time. You've embarrassed me terribly. You lied to me. Good for nothing. That's for your trouble." He left 10 euro stack of 2 euro coins on the counter and left. We weren't allowed to accept tips in McDonald's, but my manager saw the whole situation and said I deserved it. TLDR, dude wanted to exchange at least 50 euros worth of coins at McDonald's till. I refused to exchange it, and he tipped me 10 euros aggressively and left. Story 27. I worked at a small town Dunkin' Donuts right off the highway about 3 years ago. The highway in question is one that everybody uses to travel from the city about 100 miles to the south up to their vacation homes in the lakes region of our state, which we're in the south end of. So we get out-of-staters all the time who come through and ask for mochachinos and frappes and other Starbucks crap. Sometimes the Aroma Joe's rush drinks too. Once I had a mom that came through, only knew it was a mom because of the screaming kids in her car, asking for some sandwich that turned out to be from the Sonic drive-ins. Those don't really exist where I'm from. The closest is 2 hours away. When the three of us working were all super confused by what she meant, because we'd never heard of it before, she asked to speak to our manager. We told them the truth. The manager had gone home for the night, but the assistant manager was in at 6 a.m. the next morning. She demanded to speak to the manager right then and there, and said we needed to call her and put her on over the drive-through speaker. Both managers went straight to voicemail. We said we couldn't reach them, and she screams, "This is the worst Sonic I've ever been to!" We're all bamboozled. Like, what the actual F just happened? My coworker literally asked what a Sonic was. Not to annoy her, be funny or anything, but because she literally did not know what a Sonic was. So the woman freaks out even more and says, "I will go to corporate, and I will have this location shut down. I knew a Sonic up here wouldn't be any good." "Ma'am, this is a Dunkin' Donuts. What's a Sonic?" Pause. I'm so embarrassed. And it sounded like she started whimpering a bit before she drove off. I think it's funny now, but at the time, I had no idea what to think. Story 30. I've actually had a "ma'am, this isn't a Wendy's" before. I used to work at a Tim Hortons that also had a Wendy's under the same roof. Common in Canada, where I live. We got along with each other and gave each other the free stuff we got. We got free coffee and donuts, and they got free fries and fountain pop. I was a teen working my first job, so I wanted to stand out. When the second night shift employee didn't show up, I offered to take their place and do a double shift. I don't recommend this, by the way, as I got home from school, came to work, worked 16 hours, then went back to school from work. Brutal day for me, but luckily it was a Friday. Anyways, the Wendy's crew closed at 11 p.m., but we were open 24 hours. Around 2 a.m., this woman drives up to my speaker box and this happened. Me. Hello, welcome to Tim Hortons. Can I take your order? Her. Hey, yeah, can I just get a Baconator, please? Me. Unfortunately, this is the Tim Hortons window. Wendy's closed at 11 p.m. Her. Yeah, I drove up there and no one answered, so I came here. Anyways, can I just get a Baconator combo with root beer? Me. Ma'am, this isn't Wendy's. We don't make burgers. We only had, at the time, donuts, cookies, and pastries. Her. Yeah, I know, I'm not stupid, but could you, go over and make it for me? Me. No. Her. This is effing bullcrap, man. I just wanted a burger. Me. There's a McDonald's literally down the road that's 24/7. Her. Pauses for a moment, peels out of the drive-thru. Not really satisfying or sexy, but I still remember thinking, this female dog serious? She has no idea how long it takes to even heat up the grill. Kind of shows that many people don't have basic job experience to know WTF the employees go through if she thinks I could just sneak over and make a burger. Story 29. Obligatory, not a fast food worker, but I've worked in upscale dining/bar and catering services for quite a while now and have similar stories. I feel like the more money people are spending on food service, the ratio of stupid to arrogant shifts quite a bit. They might be wrong, but it doesn't matter because the amount of money they're spending or business they're bringing in equals they're right. Was working in a kind of upscale steakhouse in a wealthy suburb that was next door to a rather large hotel. Lady calls in and says she needs to place a pickup order. Sure, what can I get for you? She asks for a loaf of bread, a dozen eggs, a half-gallon of milk, and a stick of butter. Cue me asking, I'm sorry, I think you might have called the wrong number. This is Busy Upscale Steakhouse. Did you mean to call a grocery store or a delivery service? She replies, No, I've called the right place. This is Busy Upscale Steakhouse next to the hotel, right? Well, yeah, it is, but it seems to directly clash with the fact that you just ordered a loaf of bread, milk, eggs, and butter. This is, but unfortunately those things aren't present on our menu. I can tell you how to find our menu online, or perhaps if you tell me what you're looking for, I could suggest. No, I don't need to see the menu. We're at the hotel next door. Like I said, we just need a loaf of white bread, some eggs and milk, and some butter. We're going to my sister's house tomorrow for a family gathering, and I'm supposed to bring things to help cook. Are you telling me you don't have bread, butter, milk, and eggs there? Well, yeah, we do. We do a lightly toasted bread garnish on some dishes, and obviously a restaurant kitchen stocks milk, eggs, and butter. I put her on hold and go get my manager. She thinks it's absurd as I do, and tells me to give her the address for a grocery store about a mile down the road. I don't feel like walking to the grocery store or getting an Uber. Are you really not going to take my order? F it, sure. We make up absurd numbers for a la carte orders of toast, raw eggs, large sides of butter, and glasses of milk. I think it came out to around $90. 100% intended to make her realize she should just Uber to the store a mile away or something. I pick the phone back up and let her know. Sounds good. I'll be there in a few minutes. So we sure as F went into the system, made up a $90 charge that accounted for an inventory hit of a loaf of bread, some milk, eggs, and butter, and 5 minutes later she showed up and paid us to save her a trip to the grocery store. I want some groceries. Sir, this is a steakhouse. I'll pay you $100 to save me the trip. Sure. Effing rich people, man. Story 30. I was an assistant manager at a McDonald's years ago, and I'll never forget this story. I just so happened to be working the window when this particular lovely woman pulls up to the speaker. I proceed with the usual, welcome to Mickey D's, how may I help you today? And she starts shouting at me that she wants 2 chalupa combos with Mountain Dew, 2 chicken quesadillas, and some other stuff. Me, ma'am, I'm sorry, we don't have that here. Karen, what the F do you mean you ain't got that? Me, ma'am, I'm sorry. Karen, you better give me my mother effing burritos. She then proceeded to punch the menu board and speaker box, whips her car around to my window. Karen, I need to speak to your mother effing manager. How can you not have any quesadillas at lunchtime? What kind of crappy ass people work here? Don't you care about your customers? More screaming. Something about I probably ate the last one, and I should go on a diet. So finally, she shut up for 2 seconds for me to tell her as I point to my hat and the big yellow M on my shirt. Lady, this is McDonald's, not Taco Bell. Taco Bell is across the street. Karen looks ahead, looks back at me, and drives off. No apology, no oops, my bad, nothing. No surprise here. People like that never apologize or acknowledge they're wrong. Of course, you all know that. And I should point out that this happened way more than it should have. I've had people walk inside McDonald's, walk up to the counter, look directly at the menu, and start calling out their Taco Bell order. So there you go. Don't get it. People who work in retail have zero faith in humanity, and who could blame them, right? Sorry for the rant, guys. Story 31. I worked at a pizza place called Mazzio's in a very small town, about 5,500 people. We're just about the only place other than 2 gas stations and McDonald's that stayed open till 9 on the weekends. One day, this guy calls and says he's at the hotel up the road. I start to take his order, and then he mentions that he wants it delivered. I told him that we don't deliver, and he's appalled. You're a pizza place and you don't deliver? No, sir. Sorry. It's a small town. We don't deliver. I'm literally right up the road and you won't bring it to me? I don't have a car, he says, clearly not getting what delivery means in the food industry. Again, no, but like you said, it's right up the road. It's within walking distance. You'll likely be here before the pizza's done, I inform him. He starts to rant about how he can't believe that a restaurant that serves pizza doesn't deliver. What kind of place are we, etc., etc. He then says, is there any place in this hick town that delivers? And I couldn't stop myself before saying, well, the hospital delivers babies, and that's pretty much it. And he hangs up on me. My manager overheard the conversation and was crying with laughter. Story 32. I was working drive-thru one day and a guy pulled up. I said the same thing as always. Thank you for choosing Chick-fil-A on location. How can I help you? He asked for the tailgate special. Very confused, I asked him what that was. He explained it was a basket of chicken and biscuits, etc. I asked where he saw this promotion and he said it was on our commercial. I asked him what commercial, as we didn't have any back then. He said, it's the Bojangles tailgate special. Are you offering it? I had to mute my mic as I laughed and then told him, sir, as I said before, this is Chick-fil-A, not Bojangles. He was very confused, looked up at the side of the building, saw the big red letters of CFA, and said, oh crap, this isn't Bojangles. Can I get some chicken and biscuits? Yes, sir. It'll be my pleasure. Story 33. Finally, been waiting years to say this. So, working at Starbucks, this Italian guy came in and ordered an Americano. Now, for those who don't know what it is, it's a shot of espresso topped up with hot water. So I pull the shots on the machine, push a button, it spits out coffee. Magical. Then, as I'm going to put the water in, he freaks the F out and was like, no, not like that. He's like, no, it's wrong. That's not how you make it. Me being confused as F, thinking, how else do you want me to make an Americano? So I ask him what he wants. He keeps freaking out. Just add more. Just add more. So I'm like, oh, you want long shots? No, add more. Like they do in Italy. So I'm having enough of this guy already. So I'm just like, whatever. Just pull another shot in the cup just to get him out of line, because I've got frappuccinos in the queue and some other single soccer mom drinks waiting. As I pull the cup out to put the water in, he just effing loses it. Like full-on Karen not wearing a mask losing it. No. Pull more effing water like they do in Italy. Just pull more water from the machine, not the tap. I tried to explain to him that we literally push a button on the machine and automatically grinds and it spits out coffee. There's no push water out except when you want to clean the machine, which I was tempted to, but not that cruel. And he's just not understanding it and losing it more. So I finally said, look, this is how we make an Americano, as I fill up the cup of water. In Starbucks, an American corporation run out of Seattle, was in Canada, Vancouver at the time. If you want it specialized like that, go back to Italy or go to a non-fast food coffee shop. Either take the coffee or go to the cash for a refund. Choice is yours as I start the next drink. Still, over the years, me and my SO laugh at it. We met there as she was on the cash register when this happened. Story 34. My time to shine. I've been a manager at Arby's for a couple years now. Here's some recent ones that come to mind. Had a man come through drive-thru every morning for several weeks. He would order a limited time only sandwich. Well, we stopped carrying the sandwich, so one day he had to order something else. He tried to order a Whopper and became irate that we didn't have them. My particular store hasn't sold breakfast in at least a decade. Had a woman come through and screamed at us we needed to have a sign up saying we don't have breakfast anymore. She went on and on about wasting her time while she was holding up the entire line. A couple of months ago, while Taco Bell was closed for remodel, someone asked for Fiesta potatoes. Someone came through as soon as we opened to order a Subway sub. I was like, "Ma'am, you're at Arby's, not Subway. We don't sell a Subway sub." To which she replied, "I never said this was Subway." And the amount of times people try to use coupons for other fast food places blows my mind. Story 35. I was a manager for a local coffee shop. My favorite Karen/Wendy's moment. A ritzy-looking woman came in on the phone, loudly talking to whomever via headphones. After holding up the line, she finally took a second to order a Frappuccino, thrusting her Starbucks card at me. She quickly scurried away after I slid her card back at her, saying, "We aren't Starbucks." I tried, unsuccessfully, for several minutes to get her attention again. I gave up and took the next order, curious to see how long it would be before she came and screamed at me. A full 11.5 minutes later, I timed her, haha, she stormed up to the counter demanding her Frappuccino. "Oh my god, where's my drink? Those people were after me. What is taking so long?" I explained we do not have a blender, ice cream, or their gross sugary powder mix, so we had none of the ingredients or tools to make one. The customer began yelling at me, saying she was friends with the corporate manager of Starbucks and that she'd get me fired for sure for how arrogant I was because I clearly had a blender. She mistook our industrial coffee maker as a blender. "Ma'am, we're not Starbucks. We don't have corporate." She cut me off again, screaming, "What do you mean this isn't Starbucks? Sure looks like a effing Starbucks to me." I took a step back, kind of smiling. So very glad it was me that got to witness this glory. "Ma'am, do you see Starbucks anywhere on our shelves? Are any of us wearing green aprons or a uniform and our walls are white and blue? Everything is 50s themed and there's a logo of not Starbucks right in front of you. So please elaborate. How do we look like Starbucks?" "Excuse me, do you know who I am? Let me speak to your manager." "Oh no, you're right. One moment, I'll get her." I dipped below the counter and spoke to myself loud enough for her to hear. "Hey, Murphy, a customer would like to speak to the manager." "Okay, what does she want?" "She thinks she's in Starbucks and is angry because we do not have the tools or the equipment to make a Frappuccino." "Did you explain we're not Starbucks?" "Yes, but she became very aggressive and rude." "Ah, okay, let me speak with her." I stood up and smiled. Astonished, she still didn't seem to get it. "How may I help you?" "I'm the manager." "Oh my god, you're the worst barista I've ever seen. I'm never coming back." "Okay, thank you. You're making my job easy. I really don't want to kick you out." Apparently she lived in the apartment complex because a few weeks later she came back, with friends, demanding a free drink while I was in the kitchen baking. Daniel came and got me. "Oh, Mrs. Starbucks." She turned so red and left the second she saw me. Her friends ordered and waited out their drinks politely while she stood outside. Story 36. When I worked at McDonald's back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, there was this one customer who could never figure out which restaurant he was in. Granted, there was a McDonald's, a Burger King, and a Wendy's in a tidy row on the street, providing a wealth of options in either a cheeseburger, or a cheeseburger. But that didn't stop him from repeatedly walking into our McDonald's and ordering a Whopper. No big. People do it all the time. My usual hang these days is Taco Bell, provided I can find one that isn't actually a COVID hotspot. But if I went to Del Taco and ordered something off the Taco Bell menu by mistake, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But not only do people do it all the time, this particular person did it all the time. The weird thing was that he wasn't very clear on the time of day either. This was back when breakfast was over at 10:30, but he'd shuffle in at 2 p.m. and order an Egg McMuffin. So he'd frequently order a breakfast at the wrong time and, when politely refused, order a lunch from the wrong place. I would have liked to oblige him. That is, special order a quarter pounder with Whopper fixins, but the managers were tyrants and that probably wouldn't have flown. It was a freaky weird job with freaky weird environment. Story 37. I worked at Wendy's for a little over a year. A couple comes in. I was taking orders and an elderly woman pulled up to the box. Without pausing, she said, "I'll take 2 roast beef and cheddars and a large curly fry with cheese sauce." I gave her the benefit of the doubt and told her that we don't have those items and offered her the 4 for $4 instead. She replied with, "You got rid of those? I never thought this would happen." Understanding her confusion, I said, "Ma'am, this is Wendy's," and then gave her directions to Arby's. She said, "Oh, I must have taken the turn too early." For reference, Arby's was across the highway. A month or so goes by and I'm grilling, but I have a headset. We get a car and they take the order. I knew the voice in an instant. I'll take 2 roast beef and cheddars and a large curly fry with cheese sauce. The employee taking the order was new and asked if we had any of those things. I turned my microphone on and said that Arby's was across the highway. She once again replied with, "Oh, I must have taken the turn too early," and drove off. This process repeated about once every month or two. Another month or so after the last one, I'm the manager. I hired my sister, who hit a rough patch, to give her a quick job. Put her on order taking. The beep came through signaling a car. She told them to go ahead with their order, and yet again, I knew the voice in an instant. "I'll take 2 beef and cheddars and a large curly fry with cheese sauce." My sister gets flustered easily, and I decided to let her take care of this for entertainment. They debated on menu items, and my sister, who was brand new, tried to find the items on the computer to put them in. None of them are on there. This went on for several minutes until the elderly woman said, "Wow, this is a Wendy's. I must have taken the turn too early." After that, I never heard her voice again. Never received the 2 beef and cheddars and a large curly fry with cheese sauce order again. My telling her that she was at the wrong place must have never clicked in her head to not repeat the mistake. The confusion with my sister forced her to learn it for herself, and she never came back. There's probably a lesson there, but at the end of the day, this is a Wendy's. Story 38. Work at some fast food pizza place. It's a relatively slow day. I'm just prepping dough and whatever when this guy walks in. It's a big Hispanic populated area. 5 of the 7 workers are Hispanic, including me. The guy strikes up a convo in kind of broken English with one of our delivery drivers about something which I didn't really pay attention to. Anyway, the guy orders his pizzas and pays for them. That's where it should have ended. We have the TV on the news channel since this was when COVID was becoming a main concern and everyone wanted to keep up with info. I guess this is what set the guy off. He starts ranting about how COVID is just a disease created by the government to get rid of all minorities in America so that the president is able to get another term, blah blah, something about Russia. The fact that he's yelling in broken English at all of us kind of added to the craziness of it all. He was just so mad and passionate about it. He cools down after a bit, probably proud of himself, thinking he informed the truth to a bunch of teenagers and a 60-year-old delivery driver. Also bonus, when our second delivery driver came back, a white guy in his 40s, the guy who ranted looked at another Hispanic guy I worked with at the time and said, "What is he doing here?" Like his very existence offended him. Story 39. Worked at a small, family-owned pizza joint in my area. Had a middle-aged lady come in with her mid-20s daughter and asked for our chicken salad. I told her that we had multiple salads that came with chicken, but that the barbecue chicken salad was the most popular. So she agreed to that must be what she's thinking of and orders that, and her daughter orders a pizza. We make the order and I bring it out to her. She's all smiles and thanks me profusely. Taking the order, making the order, and bringing it out took all of about 15 minutes. About 10 minutes later, she comes in screaming at me that I made her order wrong, and that wasn't the chicken salad that she wanted. My manager comes over, backing me up, saying that we'd simply made what she'd ordered, and that we had confirmed the order with her beforehand, but that we would remake it if she would stop yelling at us for the miscommunication. This continues for about 5 or 10 minutes. At this point, she pushes the salad towards us and continues yelling, but I start making the new salad just to get her out of the store. This sent her into an even bigger rage. She pulls open the top of the to-go box and starts flinging salad all over the counter while screaming that the order is wrong and that she's going to be late because her break is almost over and she's a teacher. It takes 30 seconds to make our salads, but through all the yelling, it's taken almost 10 minutes to get to this point. So she'd been here well past a teacher's lunch break, and it could have been over in 2 minutes if she just calmly explained the situation from the start. Well, I walk up with the finished new salad, and she flings her old salad, some forks, some napkins, and the tray at me and my manager, and then screams that she doesn't want a new salad and walks out without the new salad. Lady took almost 45 minutes of her 30-minute lunch break / lunch date to complain about a food that she wrongfully ordered and then threw a tantrum and left without eating any food. I feel bad for whoever she's teaching. So, no refund, right? Had to ask. Story 40. This will get buried, but I worked at Zaxby's and people called and complained about an order and didn't want to come back in at the same time. The manager would write the name and details in the book. If someone came through the drive-thru wanting to claim their meal from the book, we were instructed to tell them they had to come in to do that. One family abused this rule terribly and often. They'd order about $10 worth of fried chicken and call back 20 minutes later with the claim that they'd ordered $50 worth of food and it was all burnt/greasy/whatever. This continued on an almost weekly basis for years. They always used the same name and refused to come inside. They demand to speak to the manager at the window, and the manager would always cave. My favorite manager was so annoyed with it and was like, next time, tell them if they don't come in, they don't get their food. So the next time this happens, this lady comes around and I tell her, per the manager, she has to come inside, and she starts verbally abusing me. Okay, I'm like, whatever. So then she says she isn't wearing pants. And I'm like, you clearly are. I was working 2 jobs at the time and couldn't have given 2 craps if they fired me. This woman said she can't come in, she's not dressed appropriately, and pulled her whole ass titty out of her spaghetti strap and let it flop over the top of her shirt. At which point I got the manager. I don't remember if she got her food that time in the drive-thru, but I do remember my manager's face when he walked over and saw her holding her soggy-ass titty up instead of walking her ass inside. I quit shortly after, but I'm sure she's still running the same long con. Story 41. Oof. Not typical service, but I work in an ER. I've had an uppity rich woman demand that I somehow produce a Tempur-Pedic massage from my a-hole. I had another guy that apparently thought we were a hardware store and demanded we get him screwdrivers, a drill, and some other tools. A few weeks ago, I went in to draw blood and start an IV on a patient who then proceeded to rant about the demons that run the planet and the end times. And when I left the room to send his blood to the lab, he started screaming at me that they'd be coming for me next. My absolute favorite is when I came out of a room from coding a patient, respirator and face shield literally dripping with sweat since it was just me on compressions for a solid 30 minutes. As soon as I step out, there's a patient with the classic Karen haircut asking me where the shower is. I explain that we don't have a shower. She starts getting irate and says, I've been in my room an hour and the doctor hasn't bothered to come see me. She had only been in her room for 10 minutes. The nurse comes up as I'm telling her that I'm not capable of building a shower for her to use. The nurse then tells her she could use the very painful and expensive chemical rinse shower. She huffs off to her room. Then the doctor comes out of the code room after hearing all that. She goes into the patient's room and the patient starts yelling about a shower because her privates smell. So the doctor looks her dead in the eye and says, you can wash your privates in the sink and shut your mouth. If you keep treating your nurses and techs like this because you can't clean your own privates at home, then I'll have you thrown out. Hands down, one of the funniest things I've ever heard from one of my coworkers. Story 42. 2 customers come in. We'll call them Jim and Tim. Hello, sir. How can I help you? We need a tarp that's 9 feet wide by 12 feet long. No problem, sir. Let me get that for you. I come back with the tarp they wanted. Here you go, sir. No, this won't work. Oh, don't worry. It's listed as 11 feet and 10 inches. That's because of the grommets. It's effectively 12 feet. No, not that. This tarp is 9 feet long by 12 wide. We need one that's 9 feet wide by 12 feet long, or it won't fit. I sit there for a moment, 100% sure I'm being effed with. Sir, I don't understand the difference. Here, look. He then proceeds to draw out on a small piece of paper a rectangle and label the longer side 12 and the shorter 9. See, if the tarp is only 9 feet long, then it won't cover the length all the way, and it will fall over on the sides. But sir, can't you just turn it? No! He's a little angry now. Watch! He pulls out another small piece of paper, puts it on top of the first, so they're forming an X shape. See? The way they crisscross, we can't have that. It's gotta line up perfectly. I just look at him. Okay, sir, but what if you just... And I take the paper and turn it so they're laying perfectly on top of each other. He stares at it a moment. His friend stares at it a moment. You know what, Jim? I think he's right. Story 43. I worked at In-N-Out. To make a long story short, it was 1:30 a.m. on a Saturday and we were closing. We wanted to go home, so we were moving fast and forgot to lock the doors in the process. Here's where it gets interesting. 2 hangry grown men walked in, with no shoes, and started yelling at us from behind the counter, telling us their orders. Then they started arguing amongst themselves. When we told our manager, bless his soul, what was going on, he sorted it out with them and they left. So we laughed it off and got back to our job, right? Wrong. About 15 minutes later, we look over at the drive-thru screen and see the same ladies walking, still barefoot, walking towards our windows. Something about seeing the 2 of them on the laggy, black and white screen without audio was eerie. This, rightfully so, caused many of us to check the window lock. They stopped at the dark drive-thru menu, walked through, and then knocked on the window. We ignored them and they eventually left. The whole thing felt like a fever dream, with the equivalent energy to that one SpongeBob episode with the hash-slinging slasher. Story 44. So this isn't my story, but my mom's from when she was a waitress at Chili's. It's longish, but it's funny. Before my mom worked at Chili's, she worked at the Ruby Tuesdays about a mile or two down the road. She had been working at Chili's for about 3 months at this point. She had this woman, DP for dumb female dog, come in and ordered a raspberry iced tea. I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't have raspberry iced tea. We have XYZ other iced teas. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. DB, you do have raspberry iced tea. I ordered raspberry iced tea. Why won't you give it to me? Cue back and forth of no, we don't have your effing iced tea, dummy. DB, I know you have raspberry iced tea because I came in here X amount of months ago, ordered a raspberry iced tea, and you served it to me. Cue smart-ass smug smile. Ma'am, X months ago, I worked at Ruby Tuesdays, which does have raspberry iced tea. Here at Chili's, we do not serve raspberry iced tea. Now, is there another iced tea I can get for you? Both of my parents are absolute badasses. There's another post on my page labeled, "My dad is a god," that demonstrates my fantastic father as well. But yeah, I love them lots. Story 45. I work at a sub shop that's right next to a Walgreens. One day, a Karen came to our drive-thru. Mind you, I'm wearing sub-brand t-shirt, apron, and hat. Me. Hi, welcome to restaurant. What would you like today? Karen. Mutters medication sounding name. Me. I'm sorry, what did you say? Karen. I said I need some for my Me. Very confused. Okay, what kind of sub do you want? Karen. My name is Karen. I ordered it ahead of time. I can't believe you incompetent people don't have my order ready. Me, still confused. Oh, so you placed a to-go order. Why didn't you just say so? I'll look for it. Me, yeah, we don't have an order under Karen. Did you place it at the wrong sub shop? At this point, her husband in the passenger seat bursts out laughing and calls her an idiot and apologized for her dumbassery. Story 46. I worked at a Taco Bell as a burrito baker, and we had this guy come in not once, but twice thinking we were Del Taco. The nearest Del Taco was at least a few miles away. It basically went like this. Confused guy. Muffled voice. Can I get a Del Taco combo burrito? Cashier. I'm sorry. Repeat that, please? Confused guy. Slightly less muffled and a little angry. I want a Del Taco combo burrito. Cashier to us. What is he saying? Me, who goes to Del Taco all the time. I think he wants a Del Combo burrito. I believe he thinks he's a Del Taco. Cashier. Sir, this is Taco Bell. Confused guy. So, it's the same difference. Give me a Del Combo burrito. Cashier. Sir, this is Del Taco. We don't... Confused guy. Jesus Christ, I'm going somewhere else. Proceeds to drive backwards out of the drive-thru. So then he actually showed up again when I was there about a week or two later. Confused guy. I want a Del Combo burrito. Different cashier, visibly confused. Me. No effing way it's this guy again. Let me talk to him. Me. Sir, this is Taco Bell, not Del Taco. Confused guy. F you! Peels out the drive-thru, flipping us off. And that's not even the craziest story I have from there, and I only worked there like 2 years. Story 47. Working at Waffle House. Customer sits in my section. I go to set him up. Me. Good morning. How are you Customer. Have you ever had the McChicken over hash at KD's? Me. No, sir, I have not. Customer. Okay, well, that's what I'm wanting. Me. Okay, well, this isn't KD's. This is Waffle House. We don't have chicken over hash. We have a chicken melt hash brown bowl, and I can add what you want to make it as close to what you want as possible. Customer. Okay, fine. The chicken melt hash brown bowl is $8. He proceeds to add biscuits and gravy, $2, over medium eggs, $2.60, a full order of bacon, $3, and various hash brown toppings, 50 cents for the first one, 40 cents for each additional. And then he got a drink, $2.10. I deliver his food and place his check on the table. He eats the food. He then comes up to the register and proceeds to pitch an absolute fit because his check was over $20, saying, "The chicken over hash at KD's is $9. This is a ripoff," and continues to demand that he get his food for $9. Me. Sir, as I told you before, this is not KD's. This is Waffle House. If you wanted the $9 chicken over hash, I'm sure one of the lovely servers at KD's would have been happy to serve you. But what you ordered here at Waffle House was, insert $20 plus price here, don't remember exactly, so that's the price you have to pay for it. He paid, reluctantly, and surprisingly still tipped me $3. I never understand why people eat the food and then complain about it. Like, if there's something wrong with your order, whether the food isn't what you wanted or the price is wrong, why do you wait until the very end? You eat everything and then you pitch a fit. I mean, I understand that a lot of managers out there will just cave in and comp the meal, but golly, man, people need to quit doing that. Story 48. Okay, I'm late to the party, but it's worth it. I was a customer, not an employee. Me and 3 dudes are rolling into a Dairy Queen at lunch hour. We're all 30-somethings with an easygoing office boss, so we have a loose hour for lunch, so we're not in a hurry. On the way in, we noticed a 50-ish-year-old guy visibly upset, waiting for his food. We stroll up and have been there before. Listen, I'm 55, high as a kite and out of F's, cashier that's always there. He's never rude, but he's never happy to see you or happy to be working at DQ either. We go stand by a larger corner booth behind the upset dude, but pretty close to the front. Suddenly, this guy's had enough and yells, "Do they need me to go back there and cook it? This is ridiculous." Surefire way to get spit in your food. Stoner: "Yeah, sorry, it should be right up. I don't care what's going on back there." Not a very reassuring reply, and old dude is not happy about it. Old dude getting red now. "I could have walked to McDonald's by now. What the hell?" Meanwhile, my friends and I are saying things like, "Doesn't he know this is fan food, not fast food?" DQ slogan. Maybe he could hear us, but probably not. Finally, his food comes, and he yanks the bag out of Stoner's hands and storms toward the door. Another customer is on his way in. 45-year-old dude. And the old angry guy says, "If you're staying here, you're crazy." He mutters some more incoherent stuff as the door closes. End of the story, right? Wrong. The new dude strolls up to Stoner, who is unfazed from the recent event, and opens with his patented, "What do you want?" New dude: "Tough customer?" Stoner: "Well, his food took a while. The guys in the back were slow or something." New dude: "Nicely. Well, is that gonna happen to me?" Stoner, always looking to reassure: "I don't think so." New dude: "It's a yes or no question, man. Is it gonna happen to me or not? There's nobody in here." We all look up like, that escalated quickly. Stoner, still unwilling to care or commit to an answer: "Yeah, probably not." New dude orders and everything goes fine after that. We waited maybe 10 minutes on the high end for our food, which is kinda long, but dude, crap happens and Stoner guy is 1F away from just quitting, so take it easy. Story 49. I work at a small, local fast food company, and we stopped taking cash a couple months ago because of an armed robbery, and people will regularly get angry at us because of it. Some even claim it's illegal not to take cash. It's not, and even if it was, that's not my problem. I just do what I'm told. Anyways, this man comes in and gets angry that we don't take cash. I explain that it's for the safety of the staff. We work alone a lot at night. And he responds saying how, quote, "It wouldn't be a problem if we just put a bullet between the robber's eyes." Like, sir, this is Sweden. There are at least 17 different reasons why that would never work, nor be legal in any way, aside from it being murder. Also, there's no way I'm getting paid enough to defend this damn place with lethal force. Story 50. I used to work at McDick's, and our pop dispensers were in the lobby, where the tables are, so we just have empty cups. People would often ask for water, then steal pop, so we hand them very small, clear cups if they wanted water. It was summer, and we had dollar drinks any size. You could get the large size, which was like a liter of pop, for $1. This woman asked for a water cup and wouldn't accept the small. I told her she could get a pop for $1, and she said no and demanded the big cup because she was thirsty. I relented, then waited a few seconds, then stuck my head around the corner, and she's filling it with Coke. I was kinda crabby in those days, wonder why, lol, and called her out on her thieving. She came back to the counter and yelled at me, trying to insult me for working a minimum wage job in fast food. I shot right back that at least I work for my money and buy my own drinks. On a side note, I was nice to the nice customers. There was a little old lady with a walker that panhandled for change, then would come in and buy a single senior's coffee with all pennies. I would give her free muffins and cheeseburgers. Story 51. I already replied, but I just thought of another memory from my time at Domino's. We were short-staffed, so one of the delivery guys picks up the phone to take an order while I'm back making pizzas. The customer tries to order chicken McNuggets. The driver explains that we don't have chicken nuggets, we're a pizza place. He offers boneless wings, which are breaded and basically the same as nuggets, but the customer insists on chicken nuggets. They go back and forth on this a couple times, with the guy insisting that we have chicken nuggets and that he wants chicken nuggets. I wrap up what I'm doing and go over and take over the call. Me. Sir, I'm sorry, but we're a pizza restaurant. We don't have chicken nuggets, but we do have boneless chicken wings covered in breading that are very similar to chicken nuggets. Customer. I don't want boneless wings. I want chicken nuggets. Me. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but we're not going to be able to help you with that. Then he just hung up. I'm glad I was having a good day that day, because the whole interaction just cracked me up. Story 52. I worked at Starbucks, which is full of nightmare interactions with people at the outset because of how the company wants customers to relate to them. However, nothing was more out there than a lady who was strange every single time. She had cried before, had yelled, non-threateningly, just very emotionally about something, would get needlessly worked up if something was taking too long. Thankfully, our store wasn't her main Starbucks, so I didn't see her often. One morning, though, a half hour into being open, just my manager, another worker, and me are working. I'm working the drive window and 2 cars pull in, and as they're pulling in, the second car starts honking at the first. Not just one honk, not 2, just laying on the horn for seconds at a time, hitting it over and over. They both get in the drive lane. I start taking the first car's order. The second car keeps honking over and over wildly. My boss and I are laughing, and also a bit. What the hell are you supposed to do with this situation? I ask the first car if she knows what's up with the second car, and she says no. The first car pulls up. I ask my manager to take the second car's order. Lady in the second car is the overly emotional, intense lady. She tells my boss that the lady in the first car cut her off pulling into the parking lot. I'm busy dealing with the first car. My boss is asking the second car not to honk in the drive like that. She pulls up, and as soon as she's right behind the first car again, she starts honking again. We're losing our minds. We can't understand at all what she thinks is going to be changed by her acting this way. First car pulls away, and this lady pulls up, and I'm trying very hard to act as if she hasn't spent the last 5 minutes honking and thrashing around with anger in her car. I give her the total. She yells. She cut me off coming in. She could have killed me. I tell her that's wild. Pause. Tell her the total. She looks at me, and I have no ability to be sympathetic because she's burned through any sympathy several visits before. She's shaking and barely containing rage at a person who has already driven away. As I go to hand her the drink she bought, she says, "You're laughing at me, and you should feel sorry for me. I'm the victim." I just said, "I don't feel anything about it. I just passed things through a window, that's all." She drove away and didn't visit us again for almost a year. I know Starbucks would like me to have calmed her down, offered her the drink for free, assured her that we were all on her side, tell her that sometimes people are crap and we all understand, but I can tell you were much happier with her not wanting to come to our store for a long time. Story 53. Worked at a greenhouse from May to August of this year. We had been doing online orders only, but the store reopened for customers in early June. However, we were still getting a couple online orders a day. The way it's set up, there were parking spots reserved for pickup, and on the sign at the front of each reserved spot was our phone number. Customer would call when they arrived and someone would bring it out. Late July, a lady calls and says she's here to pick up her order and gives her order number. I ask what spot she's in, and she says she wasn't in a reserved spot, but that she was in front of the building in a white car. I bring the order out and cannot for the life of me find her car. I call her back and was like, "I can't find you anywhere. Can you describe where you're parked?" At this point, she's calling me incompetent and all that crap, and this goes on for about 2 minutes. I then ask her if she's at X greenhouse, and she went dead silent, then said, "Crap, I'll be there in a few minutes." Turns out she was at the wrong greenhouse. I still can't even fathom how she was at the wrong place because in order to get our phone number, she was likely looking at her order email with our phone number and store name on it. Story 54. Not quite fast food, but it's retail and pretty damn close to a "this is a Wendy's" moment, so I figured I'd share. My first ever job when I was just old enough to work was at Walmart. I was stocking shelves after I had got done unloading the trucks earlier, and a lady walks up to me and just starts having this coughing fit. But she's not covering her mouth or anything, and she's staring right at me. I turn towards her and ask if she's okay, and she just sort of looks around and then holds up a box of great value fruit snacks and just stares at me, like she's looking into my soul to find answers to questions I don't even know. After a long pause, was probably like 10 seconds, but it feels way too long when someone's staring at you, she just goes, "Are these good?" I tell her that I've had them before and they're fairly decent fruit snacks, and I start to turn to go back to shelving. I've barely reached for the next can, and this big huff stops me in my tracks. I turn, and this lady has not only moved closer, but she's cornered me between my stocking cart and the shelves, and she's got this impatient look on her face, and she's pointing the box at me like it's a gun. No, 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 she says with an eye roll. Are they good? Confused 16-year-old me. Well, maybe not that good. At this point, the lady starts getting a little red in the face, and she's starting to look mad. I'm starting to get a little freaked out, thinking maybe she's on drugs or something, or there's something I'm supposed to just know and I just don't. Finally, she stops pointing the box at me like a gun and looks at it for a second before shoving it back in my face, jabbing at the ingredients list with her finger. Is it good? She says, violently jabbing the box with each word. I pause while I try to read the list of ingredients. I grew up in a healthy household, so to me, the ingredients list looked pretty rough. I didn't want to upset the lady, but she seemed really adamant in getting an answer. Well, I finally say, I don't know too much since I'm not an expert or anything, but I tend to steer clear of food coloring in food when I can. But these ingredients don't seem all that bad. She rolls her eyes and lets out a sharp huff. You know what I mean, she says, still pointing at the list. I don't care what they are, I just want to know if they're good. The ingredients? No, the quality. Of the fruit snacks? She looks at me like I'm the dumbest person alive and puts her hands in the air, still clutching the box of fruit snacks. She turns around and I honestly am relieved that she's going away, until I realize that she's just looking through things on the opposite shelf. She snatches another box, and this time it's some kind of great value granola bars. This time, when she puts it in my face, she uses the box of fruit snacks to point at something on the box, but I can't tell what because the box of fruit snacks is way bigger and just blocks like 90% of the granola bar box. She gives me a look and starts tapping the boxes together faster. Ma'am, I start, but she doesn't let me finish. See, she says, is the quality good? Of the box? She freezes and just stares at me again. A little bit goes by and I can feel a drop of accumulated sweat from this tense encounter slide down my side from my armpit. Slowly, she separates the two boxes, and at this point, I'm convinced that I'm an idiot and I'm just totally missing something. This is a grown woman telling me that I know, so of course I should probably know. So I must be the idiot here for not knowing. Finally, she holds both the boxes out in front of her. You've seen it, right? She says impatiently, tapping her foot. See what? So, is it good? I just want to know the quality. Ma'am, I don't know. You work back there, right? You've seen them make it. Is the quality good? I just stop for a second, and as I look at the box of bars and see the Great Value logo on both, it slowly starts to sink in what she's asking. Ma'am, we don't make the products here. She rolls her eyes and holds out both the boxes again. These are your brands, right? I saw you come from back there, so you know. Are they good? At this point, I'm just so flustered and I'm still trying to come to terms with what's going on and how to explain this without sounding condescending. I'm also still partially worried that maybe I'm still the idiot and I'm still not following. Ma'am, do you think we make those products here at the store? They're your brands. Just tell me the quality. I have to decide if they're worth it. Ma'am, we don't actually make those here at the store. They get brought in on a pallet, and then we put them on the shelves. I say, gesturing at my stocking cart. We don't make them at the store. You work there. She points her arm behind her towards the back of the store. I can tell she's getting agitated. I nod and open my mouth to try and explain, but she cuts me off. This is your brand, so tell me, is it good? Ma'am, we don't make these in the back of the store. Just like the other products, they get shipped in to us. We don't have enough space to be making all these different kinds of products here. I'm sorry, I've not seen them making any of the products here. I don't think the quality is that great, though. At this point, she just lets out this angry harf noise from her throat, and she looks pissed. I stopped shopping at Target because they wouldn't tell me. This is ridiculous. I know you know. Why are you lying about what you make? I'm just standing there, shocked at this lady screaming and throwing a temper tantrum over something that doesn't even begin to make sense. She turns around and throws the bars and fruit snacks onto the shelf pretty hard and knocks over a bunch of the other bars. Ma'am, I can get my team leader or a manager to come talk to you if... The look on her face was what you would expect if I dropped my pants in the middle of the store and just crapped all over the aisle. Disgust, shock, revulsion. She stormed out of the aisle, kicking one of the boxes she had knocked over. Look, yes or no? That's all you had to say. Just totally lie. Get her off your tail. I don't understand why, after coming to the conclusion that there was something wrong with this woman, that you continue to entertain it, unless you were enjoying yourself. It doesn't sound like you were in recounting the story, so just say, yeah, the quality's great. You'll enjoy them. Or, no, quality's not great. Wouldn't recommend. And that's it. That's it. Lie. Lie like a rug. Moving on. Story 55. A customer called in to complain that in old concert footage aired on cable, that Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees called James Brown the N-word and went on and on for a long time about how awful that was and how we shouldn't show stuff like that on television, and I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Finally, they stopped for breath long enough for me to tell them that our company had nothing to do with that cable network and only happened to have similar names. They then accused me of being part of the cover-up and that I was probably racist too. We weren't allowed to hang up on customers except in particular circumstances. Since they did not use profanity when accusing me of being racist, I ended up being on that call a long time. It got me curious though. James Brown did open for the Monkees in a concert in the 60s. I thought maybe this was something that was commonly misheard, but nope. Only one crazy thought this. Story 56. I've had my share of people trying to order Big Macs and McRibs, and honestly it was easy to shrug off because there was a McDonald's like 3 doors down. This 400-pound Karen rolled in on her motorized wheelchair screeching about how we forgot something in her order half an hour ago. Confused, I tried looking for her order on the register tape. It had been dead all afternoon, so there were like 3 transactions in the past hour. I remembered each of them, so figured maybe she was here a while before that. I tried going through the entire menu with her, but none of the items I listed rang a bell at all. It wasn't until we'd exhausted all of our options that she remembered we'd forgotten her barbecue pork. I tried to explain to her that we don't carry that, but she wouldn't have it. Would not shut up, demanding her barbecue pork. Crowning moment of her tirade was when she pointed an angry finger up at my coworker and yelled at him. This was a Chinese restaurant. How the F do we not have barbecue pork? Ma'am, this is a church's chicken. Not only are you screaming at a Filipino man, you're also pointedly ignoring the only Chinese person here because I didn't have the answer you wanted to hear either. She wound up rolling out in a huff, taking out 2 chairs as she went, screaming about her pork. The next customer, who had witnessed most of the incident, couldn't help but ask if his barbecue pork was in his bag too. Story 57. Worked out at McDonald's to get some spare cash during the pandemic. Had a lady come up through the drive-thru. As per usual, I went through the whole, "Welcome to McDonald's, what can I get for you?" And this adorable little old lady went, "Is this the Dairy Queen?" I laughed my ass off before explaining that, "No ma'am, this is not the Dairy Queen. But if you'd like some ice cream, we're offering cones." That made me smile. Another time, a lady ordered an M&M milkshake, so I asked if she wanted a McFlurry. She said no, an M&M milkshake. I said, "Ma'am, we don't carry those. You have the option of chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry milkshakes, but we do not have an M&M McFlurry." She got pissed off and said, "I said I wanted a mocha frappe." Where in the hell in that whole damn order did you say mocha frappe? People are dumb. People are real dumb. Yes, they are. Moving on. Story 58. Oh man, I have a good one from my mom. She didn't work at the place, McDonald's, but she was there with her small children. I'm the youngest of 5, and I believe this was before I was born. But suffice it to say, my mom had her hands full. I love this story of my mom. So she's eating her food and the kids are being rambunctious and noisy. She's utterly exhausted from mom duties and just happy to be eating food someone else made. The place is pretty empty, but there's a guy reading a newspaper and he's obviously annoyed by the noisy kids. He keeps glancing over. Finally, he has a conversation with a McDonald's employee. The employee comes over to my mom and asks if she could possibly get her children to be quieter because it's disturbing other guests. My mom looks right at the newspaper guy and says good and loud so he can hear, "No, I can't get my kids to quiet down. That's why I came to McDonald's. I suppose if I wanted a quiet restaurant with no kids, I'd probably go somewhere else." This is so out of character for my mom, and I love it. Story 59. Worked JCPenney for a year. Was in the standalone store's front cashier station when 4 people of retirement age see that our signs are bilingual. "This is America. Why do you have Spanish signs?" Nonplussed, I shrug and say, "Corporate makes those, and there's business sense in appealing to more than just English speakers." This was the wrong thing to say because they immediately demand a manager and that I put out English-only signs. I take a full 10 seconds to taste my words and say, "I'll get the manager, sir, but they're going to tell you the same thing I will. Corporate makes those signs. You have to take it up with them. The man's wife immediately scoffs and says, Kohl's wouldn't do that. I smile. I've been to the local Kohl's. They've got French on theirs in addition to English. Needless to say, it degraded from there. And they said I, my manager, and the CEO should be deported from the US. I'm of Irish descent and pasty white, but okay. Story 60. I worked at Arby's as the guy at the fryer. The fryer was right next to the drive-thru computer, meaning I could hear everything the customer and the drive-thru guy was saying. There was also a little TV so you could see who was in the drive-thru. It was 8 p.m. and this baby blue minivan pulled up. It was a mom with a bunch of kids in the back. She goes through a few orders and then she tries to order chicken nuggets. The kid working the drive-thru said, "We don't serve chicken nuggets. This is Arby's. We have chicken tenders. Would you like that?" She went into a rant about how there were chicken nuggets on the menu. "You guys serve chicken nuggets," she said. "I can see it on the menu. The deep-fried balls, those are chicken nuggets." We told her those are jalapeno poppers and how it says that on the menu. She got all mad and drove off in a fit of rage. I was frying all the curly fries she ordered. It was pretty much a whole bag of them, so the only thing I really did was deep fry mozzarella sticks for half an hour. Kinda helped me out. Story 61. I have one that can top all of them just about. I worked at a Best Buy back in 2015. We were right next to a Belk. Older lady, late 60s/70s, came in around lunchtime with a grocery bag. Not that uncommon. She dumped the bag on my customer service desk and out comes a sweater that she demands to return. I explain to her that I cannot and she must be at the wrong place and probably needs the store next door. She gets angry and tells me that I'm wrong, that she just bought it 2 days ago and I was going to return it or she will get my manager. I explained to her to take a look around and see if she sees any clothing racks, that we're an electronics store and that I was the manager. She said she didn't care what kind of store we were. She had the receipt and slams it on the counter, knocking over a pen holder. I grab the receipt and look at it. Sure enough, it's a Belk receipt. I grab a highlighter and circle Belk like 5 times and lean over and ask her to read me the highlighted portion. She repeats it like a parrot. I tell her to look at my uniform and the little symbol on my name tag. She goes ghost white and walked away so fast she left the damn sweater and her insanely apologetic son came in an hour later and grabbed it. She never came back. Story 62. I work for a local coffee shop chain. Got a phone call a couple months ago that went something like, me. Thanks for calling. Coffee shop. How can I help you? Woman. Hi, I'm trying to find you guys, but I can't seem to. I've been driving all over. Okay, so we're at address. Okay, I'll find you guys. Thank you. Hangs up. I'm like, okay, whatever. She'll find us eventually. Got another phone call a half hour later. Me. Thanks for calling. Coffee shop. How can I help you? Woman. It's me again. I'm near where you said you were and I still can't find you. At this point, I'm confused. Me. Well, we have a rather large street-facing sign that says coffee shop name. Woman. FedEx? Me. No. Coffee shop name. This isn't FedEx. You're calling a coffee shop. Woman. Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry. Then she hung up. Story 63. It was a stressful day as the phone rang towards the end of the lunch rush on our new fast food startup on Valentine's Day. We were much loved but tiny. For all intents and purposes, a hole in the wall with no seating except a couple of plastic stools we could put out on the sidewalk. Caller. Frantic, desperate male voice. Hi, this is XYZ, right? Me. Yes. Caller. Could I please book a reservation of a table for 2 for today in the evening, Valentine's Day? Me, barely holding in my laughter. No, sir, we don't even have tables at our restaurant. Caller, wide-eyed realization over the phone. Oh, okay. Made my day that someone wanted to book a reservation for a Valentine's Day dinner at a fast food restaurant which didn't even have tables. Clearly he was calling any and everyone he could find online, but our pics and reviews also clearly mention having no seating. Texted everyone I knew about it and had a good laugh. Story 64. I was hosting at a restaurant and these 3 ladies came in from the opposite entrance around 9:30 and just stood near the bar, so I figured they were getting ready to leave. A few minutes later, they're like, "Dude, we've been waiting here for like 20 minutes. It was like 5, and I apologized and explained how I thought they were just chatting before they left. Then they tell me they have reservations for 9:30. We close dinner service at 9. I said, I'm sorry, but we aren't even open anymore, and they threw a fit. Started going off about how they talked to Zoe on the phone. There isn't even anyone named Zoe that works there. So I instantly thought they were just BSing to get in. After I explained multiple times that we close at 9, so they couldn't possibly have a reservation for 9:30, they yelled at me to grab my manager. So I got him and he said the exact thing I said. Then they go, "This is different restaurant, right?" Had to walk away before I bursted out laughing. Story 65. I was a manager at a very busy Culver's. I've had more bad experiences than I can remember. One was when a lady ordered $30 worth of food, which I'm almost certain was all for herself. No big deal, you do you. So, gets cheese curds, onion rings, 3-piece cod dinner with extra gravy sauce, large pop, a large smoothie, and a $2 side salad. Complains about the price to the girl, so the window calls me over to deal with it. I repeat her order and go, "Is there something you don't want? Because this is the price." She bought it all with an attitude. I told the girl working the window. $10 she calls later claiming we messed it up. I have been a manager there for so long, it's easy to spot the people. I bag her food to make sure it's perfect because I'm not explaining to my boss a $30 loss for the hour. Not even 2 minutes after pulling out, she drives up to the window again and starts screaming at the poor girl. So I go over and ask the crazy lady what the problem is. She complains she asked for French, not ranch. So I go, "No problem, let me get you a ranch." The lady starts screaming, "This is bullcrap, my food is cold." In 2 minutes. I demand a refund. I told her, "No problem, I'll take your food and that pop you're guzzling down then and be happy to give you your money back for what you haven't started eating." She continues to scream that she deserves a whole refund and free food on top of what she has. I politely go tell her to F off and make a choice. Keep your food, return your food for a refund, or continue to yell and have the cops called. She starts throwing the food back at me. I made another manager who's old and an absolute female dog to deal with her. There was no refund, no food returned after her throwing it, and she called the cops on her. I love you, Carol. Another one was so dumb. Okay, we had one TV in the store. People treated this place like it was a damn bar and would literally come here to watch the game. There are a ton of nice and hole-in-the-wall bars in the area, but people treated Culver's like Jesus himself was making the food. Anyways, my boss was cheap and didn't want to spend money on an upgraded package to get more channels. An old dude comes in to eat. After being there for 20 minutes and 2 other shift leaders telling him we don't have the channel with the sports game he wants, they call me over to deal with this irate human. I tell him the same thing. "I'm sorry we don't have that channel." He starts screaming and asking for corporate's number, so I give him our store number, lol. Then starts screaming, "I'm going to call Wisconsin on you." I just said okay then and walked away. Best moment of my life. Another terrible one was I was helping my boss open a new location, and some 50-year-old man with sweatpants on, big steroids muscly type. He was really weird, but whatever, I'm busy. I see him staring at me over the Togo railing. I give him his order and he asks me for more mayo. I look down and homeboy is standing there with a damn boner. I ran to the kitchen to tell my boss I'm not working up front anymore. Story 66. Worked at a Pepperidge Farm outlet store. We sold Pepperidge Farm bread and goldfish crackers and Milano cookies and the frozen products. Yes, all that kind of stuff. Some woman came in looking very harried one evening. She paced the store about 3 times very quickly, like she was looking for something specific that ought to be just jumping out at her off the shelf. Finally, I was able to approach her and offer help finding what she wanted. She said, "Yeah, where are the sausages?" I tried to explain to her that we only sell Pepperidge Farm products. She said, yes, she knows that. I listed the types of products we made, but reiterated that we don't make sausages at all. She huffed, "Yes, you do. You sell them at the mall." And I don't know how it clicked for me so quickly, but I realized she wanted Hickory Farms, which is a company that sells sausages and cheeses from kiosk at the mall around holiday time. I explained this to her, and she blinked a couple times before buying some of the assorted cookie boxes and leaving. For what it's worth, I've never seen a Hickory Farms stall at the mall past, January, and this happened in, June, so I don't think she got her sausages that night. Story 67. Was at a Starbucks working one night when a woman enters and sits for a while at a round table in front of the cash. Eventually, she gets up and asks, "Do you know when my chicken will be ready? It's been a while." My response was, "What chicken? Did you order sandwich? My apologies. I'll get that for you." To which she goes, "Don't get smart with me. I just want my chicken I ordered on the phone over an hour ago." So I start asking other staff if we got a call for that, to which the answer was no. So I tell her, "Sorry, we never received your order for your chicken, but we'll give you an additional chicken sandwich and a drink for your troubles." "I don't want your sandwiches. I ordered 3 pounds of wings. I want my damn wings." "Ma'am, we don't sell wings. This is Starbucks." You would think it in there and she would clue in, but no. "I want your name and I want your manager out here right now. You're wasting my time." She's pretty much screaming, ignoring the laughter from some of the other customers. The shift comes out from doing their count and tries to reason with this woman, obsessed with her wings, that we apparently are depriving her of. They spend about 10 minutes talking, to which she was offered a multitude of different free crap, to which she kept rejecting as she kept insisting that she called us for wings. Eventually, it leaks that she called the business next door, and despite being told multiple times this is a Starbucks, she refused the free stuff, maybe out of sheer embarrassment, and proceeded to do the walk of shame, leaving through the door, all the while patrons are laughing at her, and honestly, I was biting my lip to not laugh while she was still there. Nothing could prepare us for the scream of agony as she discovered the place next door had closed for the evening about 4 minutes prior to her leaving. To add to the hilarity, the staff brought us wings after they were done cleaning for the night as, quote, "Someone ordered this and never showed. We don't want it to go to waste." That day I learned that people like the viral McDonald's Final Form video who wanted her nuggets exist. Do not get in the way of getting their chicken. Now that's hilarious. The scream of fury of going next door and realizing that they closed so you don't get the wings and the people that you were rude to get your food. Suck it. That's hilarious. Story 68. I work for an answering service company. This man calls Future Home, which is a Tesla solar distribution company. I say, "Thank you for calling Future Home, a Tesla solar panel distribution company. My name is Zelda122821. What can I help you with?" And this man immediately yells, "You're effing lying. Tesla does not do solar panels." There's a brief pause while I contemplate my life choices that led to this moment. I respond, "Tesla does solar panels. You called Future Home, and we're an authorized distributor of Tesla solar panels. What can I help?" And he interrupts me and yells, "Tesla? The Tesla with Elon Musk?" And I was like, "Yes, Tesla with Elon Musk." And he proceeds to go on a rant about how Tesla doesn't do solar panels and that they only do cars. And I try to explain that Tesla did both, but this man just would not listen to me. He states that he had someone come over and do a presentation for him about the solar panels through Tesla, and that he also yelled at the poor dude who did the presentation. I'm thinking like, thank God I'm just on the phone and he can't see me rolling my eyes or hear when I mute myself. So after a few minutes of arguing and some quick frantic Google searches on my side, did Tesla stop making solar panels? He's still convinced I'm lying. Apparently I made up the entire thing and the website and everything to trick this man. I'm wondering if I'm speaking to Elon Musk and if this is a test. I eventually convinced him to let me sell him solar panels from, you guessed it, Tesla. I got some hella commission, lol. Story 69. I worked at an ice cream shop. That's all we sold was ice cream. Cones and things that went inside of ice cream. Nothing else. We didn't even sell beverages aside from milkshakes made with said ice cream plus milk. A woman came in with a thick British accent. Relevant. Came in and ordered her ice cream. I'm forced to ask, waffle cone or paper cup, because those are the two options. She couldn't understand me and kept asking for a pot or pan, and I'm like, huh? I then point to the waffle cones and hold up a paper cup and ask her which one she wants again. No, a pot. A pan? She looks utterly baffled at this point. Maybe something like and she stops and just stares at me. We both just stare at each other for what felt like close to 10 seconds. She then points to a metal swirly thing we use to hold cones in. One of these, and provides a link to a picture. I tell her it has to go in a cone for that, and she can't take it out of the store. She looks entirely confused, but I proceed to put her ball of ice cream inside of a waffle cone, assuming that's what she wanted. She didn't get angry, but she kind of flipped out, like she was exasperated, and repeated, "No, a pot or a pan or a..." I have no idea what the third thing she kept repeating was. I finally put it into a paper cup and handed it to her. The look of relief on her face. She was asking for the paper cup all along and couldn't say cup or bowl to save her life. It should have ended there, but she then tried to pay in currency not accepted by our store. It could have been pounds, but I don't remember what it looked like. But it had a ton of zeros on each bill, and they were a light pastel color. I explained that I couldn't accept this tender, and she looked like she was going to cry. Thankfully, she had a card with her that worked. After she paid, she tried to order food, like normal dinner food. She kept asking if we had burgers and chips. I knew she meant fries here, I know that much. I kept trying to explain that we only sold ice cream, and she left dejected. An hour later, she came back to apologize. She thought she was at the burger joint next door. Okay, I low-key kind of feel bad for this woman. Like, she's trying, she's hungry, just wants a meal, some of that good old-fashioned American cuisine, and all she got was ice cream in a pot or a pan. Does anyone else feel bad for this lady? Let's pour one out for her. Story 70. I'm a tour guide, specifically at a show cave. I had a small tour of maybe 5 people, 2 parents and 3 kids about college age, and all of the kids looked and acted like stoners. This was the last tour of the day, and my coworkers invited me to dinner whenever I got out. The exit of the cave is out in the woods, and it's a quarter-mile hike back to the gift shop. I was making conversation with one of the stoner kids during this hike, and he ended up keeping me up for what felt like 10 minutes outside of the gift shop, with my coworker standing not more than a couple yards away just waiting. After an impromptu history lesson on Frederick von Steuben, the conversation went something like this. Stoner: So you know a lot about history, huh? Me: Yeah, it's my favorite subject by far. After I graduate college, I'm hoping to become a professor of history or some academic history-related job in general. Stoner: Dude, you could be like a god. Me: Huh? Stoner: Like, you could go to work doing what you love, then come home and, like, still be doing what you love, you know? One of my coworkers had a Native American man play his flute throughout the entire hour. Mind you, this is like a tour, so us tour guides are trying to speak. I also get a lot of people to ask, so are we underground now, when we enter the cave? Story 71. Worked at a higher-end Asian restaurant. Lo mein, kung pao tofu, stir-fry, all that crap. We had a kid's menu with some smaller items. This little friend chicken dish and butter noodles for them. It was an incredibly busy place, and this particular family came in right smack in the middle of a Saturday night dinner rush. When taking the family's order, the mother was staring at the kid's menu, and I got to the kid last. He'll have the kid's cheeseburger. Miss, we don't have cheeseburgers here. She looks at me confused and starts to get angry. IDK, whatever, just get him the kid's hot dog then. Miss, we don't have hot dogs here either. There's literally a kid's menu in her hands, and I'm trying not to laugh/yell/cry. She sits there frustrated for a few moments, but I was way too busy to just stand there and wait for her to read over the whopping 5 items on the kid's menu. I ask her if she needs a minute, and she doesn't respond. But the husband picked up on the fact that we were slammed and said to come back. So I'm at the POS when the lady comes up to me, one of my big pet peeves in service, and angrily yells, "Just get the kid some effing fries." I turn to her, 100% done with bullcrap for the day, and tell her, "Ma'am, this is an Asian restaurant. We don't even have potatoes." It still boggles my mind that she reread that kid's menu a bunch of times and thought to herself repeatedly, this can't be all they have. They have to have a cheeseburger here. Like, do you know where you are right now? Bread? Cheese? Fries? Okay, so I am today days old and kind of having this realization dawn on me that, yeah, Asian restaurants don't have potatoes. What? Man, my mind is blown. What? Story 72. I once worked behind the till at a corner shop. Convenience store would be the American equivalent, I guess. Anyway, it's 2 minutes until the shop closes, so I'm already beginning to get things ready to shut up shop. Suddenly, the door flies open. A woman half bursts in, looks at me wildly, and demands, "Where's your printer?" We sell biscuits, crisps, alcohol, and cigarettes mostly. Me: I'm afraid we don't have a printer. Sorry. Her: But you do! I used it last week. Me: No, we've never had a printer. I was about to tell her where she might be able to find one at a more decent time. It was 11 p.m. at this point, but she interrupted me to scream, "F you!" at the top of her voice and slam out of the shop. All right then. I also worked in a pub for a while, and people would come up to the bar all the time and dead-ass look me in the eye and ask, "What beer do you have on tap?" Or, "Do you have beer on tap?" I would then proceed to gesture to the 5 taps directly in front of them on the bar they were leaning on, and then to the other 12 taps directly behind me. It's a craft beer pub, mate. What the F do you think we serve? Story 73. I work at a McDonald's and there's a KFC next to us. Fun fact, half of the employees at the KFC are McDonald's crew that's been fired, lol. You don't want to know how many times I got a car through my drive with the question, "Can I have a bucket?" Me, of course, not knowing what he means. "Sir, what bucket? We don't sell buckets." Sir starts screaming just because he wants a bucket. He's Polish, so he speaks very broken English. I live in the Netherlands, by the way, so this is even more difficult, lol. Sir, maybe try with the neighbors?" No, I want a McChicken bucket." "Sir, we don't have a bucket." "McChicken bucket." "Sir, bucket!" Me, being a good employee, calls my manager. My manager, sir, what's the problem? Girl doesn't give me bucket. She needs to get fired. Sir, we don't sell buckets. This went on for like a solid 5 minutes before he came to the window we were standing at. Instead of screaming, he just nodded as if he saw the mistake and drove further. Sometimes we have really nice people, but most of the time we have complete a-holes who don't know we're also just normal people who want to work. We also have so many people coming into our restaurant that it'll get too full. With Corona, there are less places to sit to keep distance, and people literally come up to me. I can't sit, I'll go to KFC instead. Where I always respond with, go ahead, greet, name of old colleague, for me. Story 74. I worked at a Tim Hortons during college. One time, a family came in and sat down at a table. I didn't think anything of it. Thought they were maybe just having a chat before coming up to the counter or waiting for other people. Before long, I noticed they looked a little impatient and kept looking at the front counter where us employees were. I decided to go clean the dining area and ask them how they were doing this evening. The dad replies with a scowl, "Are you going to give us any menus or what?" We're at Tim Hortons, sir. We don't have menus. You order at the counter." And then they all turn around in their seats and try to read the menus on the screen from where they're sitting. The son complains that he can't see it. I decide to just tell them what's available, and they all order a bunch of stuff through me. I go back and punch it all in the system, and tell him from the counter that I'll need him to come up and pay. "But we haven't received our food yet." "Yes, sir. Here you pay when you order." "Well, how do I know what to tip if I don't know whether the food and service is good? So far, I'm not convinced on the service." "Sir, you don't have to tip." His eyes light up. He comes up and pays and sits back down. An employee makes the food, puts it all on the counter, and calls out the order. They all just turn and look at me. I'm on drive-thru at this point, but they can manage without me for a second, so I carry the trays over to them. The son asks for some pepper. I bring over some little packets of pepper. He says he wants freshly ground. I tell him this is the only pepper I have. As I'm walking away, the mom says, "Good thing we didn't tip. Terrible service." If they ever went to another Tim Hortons, and probably didn't because my service was clearly terrible, they'd be in for a rude surprise to find out we're all the same. Story 75. Well, it's not really a "sir, this is a Wendy's" moment, because I work at a pizza shop and bakery, but a lot of times when I bring food out to customers, I can only carry 2 dishes at a time, because the shapes of the plates and bowls makes it very difficult to carry any more than that. And a lot of times when I bring the food out to customers, they'll be like, we also got this and that. And I'll be like, "Yes, I know, but I only have 2 hands." And in my head, I call them a dumb F and slap them with both my hands in order to get through the day. It's not much, but it helps.